Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like everybody to take a quick look at the agenda for today, and I'd like to make a motion that we move the presentation up above policies right after the roll call, which I forgot. Why don't we have the roll call first, starting with Mike.
Michael Ball.
Terry Noyes.
Steve Miller.
Pam Stiles.
Kathy Obelinas.
Chris Blackstone.
Thank you. Anyway, I move that we move the presentation above policies right after our roll call here.
That's fine. I'll make that. You want to
Okay.
move it? I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Terrific. Is there any, I'd also like to, under action items, I'd like to mention the CBA contract. Let me see here, the collective bargaining agreement, and other business. I'd like to bring up the warrant articles, the two warrant articles. Okay? Is everybody agreed with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I guess we don't need a motion, okay? Because now we're moving into the fun part of the night. And I understand there's a presentation. And we'd love to have you. Please do your thing.
I'd like to fill the board in ever so
Oh,
quickly and let you know that I'm just cutting off the chairman. I'm sorry, but for the board's benefit, I wanted to remind you that you had asked earlier to have a student presentation every month.
Right.
So this group is our pilot group. I would like you to really give them extra affection for this because they are the first student group to be presenting to the board. So they don't have a colleague that they can go say, what was it like to speak to the elected officials who govern our school? They don't have anybody to look to except for you folks to be, as I would say to them, the best audience possible. It was a thrill to get to see these presentations. The superintendent went and saw them once. I got to see some, and Denise Perry got to see some. The teacher, Mrs. Forbes, sent out invites to us and said, hey, this is happening on this day. If you're able, come see this, come see these. And the minute I saw the first couple, I said, oh, this is something that's too good just for us. I really thought this should be the pilot to share with you folks. Something else that I don't think they'll share, but that really struck my heart was when I asked different kids, hey, what was cool about this? What did you enjoy? The number of students that said doing this with technology they loved and doing the models at home they loved because of the ways their families and got to help them, work with them, or that they could brainstorm and solve or use tools with adult supervision. Kids hadn't used hot glue guns or some other kinds of tools, so kids really talked about building the models as well as the tech piece. So,
What grade is this and how old are the kids?
Mrs. Forbes can tell you that. Thank you, Pam.
It's grade 5, social studies, and the children are between 10 and 11 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So the project was 2 parts. It was a research part where they made a PowerPoint, and then the home part was to make a model of what their Native American tribe lived in.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to speak because these kids are going to show you what an amazing job they did. So we'll start off with Jason, and he's going to show you a PowerPoint, and then we have Isabel and Wyatt who are going to show you a couple of models of it. Go ahead, Jason. Can you move the mic down? Can you talk loud?
The airport. Learn what they ate, played, made, and much, much more.
Good. Go over and hit the computer.
Not literally.
Where they lived. The Iroquois tribe spanned from New York to Ohio, from Ontario to Pennsylvania. They even sometimes traveled as far as Mississippi. The men, women, and children mostly wore deerskin, but the women had tanned, cut, and sewn. Sometimes as a punishment, the older children had to do all that for them. They were almost always working, and they never wasted anything. If there were bones from animals, then they carved them or made weapons. If there were corn husks from the corn they ate so often, they would find a use for them by Here's what they did. The men hunted, the women were sewing and cooking, and the children were usually tapping trees for maple. What did they eat? The most common food was corn. They also had lots of fruits and berries from bushes and trees. Vegetables, of course, peppers, lettuce, broccoli. The men would go fishing for fish, too, such as salmon and bass. They also ate nuts like pistachios and walnuts. What would their houses look like? The Iroquois is most popular for the longhouse. It was a very long house with fires in them and chimney, and also places to sit. But that was all outside of the little wall around a bunch of small houses. They would also bend huge branches as supports and put bark, leaves, and sap on top of it to make slightly waterproof.
Any questions for Jason?
Where did they live?
Like New York and stuff. New York and Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
Pennsylvania.
Okay, close by. You did a great job.
Great job.
Their name, does that stem from something more specific? How did you pronounce the name of the tribe?
Iroquois.
Does it derive from something? Does it mean? I've never heard of it.
Hmm?
Do you think you would have liked being an Iroquois Indian?
Yeah.
What would have been your favorite part?
Probably the fishing.
Especially salmon.
Yeah.
Nice.
They absolutely amazed me what they could do with a PowerPoint. I was ready to do a trifold and have them cut and paste and Chris said, why don't you go, they've got the one-to-one devices, why don't you see what they can do? And I was like, they know so much more than I do. And they had things coming in and it was just amazing, just amazing.
They
all
certainly
did a
speak
PowerPoint.
better than I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Isabel?
Well done.
Nice job.
Yeah. Yes.
What I did was
I tell you, can we come up there and take a look?
That would be beautiful,
Huh?
yeah.
What?
If you can stand closer.
Why don't you hold off a second? We're gonna come up to me.
Thank you, Isabel.
We've seen it.
What I did was I did a poster board, and I put some pictures of facts on there.
you keep that forever.
And then I use this as like an example of what the blankets felt like a bed. That's an old rabbit bird. So soft. And then my mom helped me with this. We used some old s'more sticks and some twine, and old cloth, and we just wrapped it around and tied it. And that's what I did.
You're gonna keep that out there for a while, aren't you? Hmm?
Isabel's was interesting because she had the Cree Indians living in the plains and the Cree Indians living in the woodlands. So actually, she tackled 2 reports inside of one big report. So that was something that stuck out during the presentation of the whole 5th grade.
And she did her PowerPoint too, so this was an addition. She really went further than my expectations. Again, these guys amaze me. I should just not even have any expectations. Yeah, it's just amazing.
This school is much too much fun for a
And
school.
then we have Wyatt.
Hang on one second, because I think Superintendent has a question for Isabel.
I was just struck by how you pulled in mom to help with the grandmother and made it kind of this whole collaborative, like, I think that the people that you're close with, extended family, and to count on each other to get through some difficult things, and how you do the same thing here. It's really excellent.
Very nice.
So I'm just going,
I know where to go when I needed to.
I was thinking where to get a
Scouting
campfire
skills.
store. Very resourceful.
Be so young and be able to speak in public.
I did a project on the Chippewa tribe, and I made a teepee, like an outline, and then I peeled off wood pulp from a dead tree, and glue wouldn't work, so I could tape things to it. And I also used like characters. Like
Would you use?
pictures.
Oh, characters.
Characters, yeah.
I see.
Boy, Indians, little, the Indians, and I glue rocks and then put wood inside for a fire pit, and then I made up fences for the horses they had, and I put bowls with paint in them. And to keep the teepee together, I tied it.
That's all the details
It only takes one kid to make a village. Well done. Any questions?
Well, I really appreciated in this one how he found elements, like the plastic animals and the plastic fences and the things that he had. And then he was resourceful and found the birch bark to be the other elements that he repurposed to be what he needed in this model.
And why is it for Wyatt?
It's just that outline.
Did they live in a village like that? Very good.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Robbie Gordon's not here, so I can say one sentence about his. He
Yeah.
couldn't, his family commitment was elsewhere tonight. But his was really, I'm gonna say fun, but very academic to talk to. He did a presentation as formal as these children did, but afterwards I said, what about this do I need to know that I can't tell by looking? And he said, oh, because when I was telling my mom it was gonna be hard, we had to find what I was gonna use for my model. And he said, all of a sudden I realized the answer's there, it's my cereal bowl. So that kind of resourcefulness was just so much fun to hear out of the kids, problem solving, how are they gonna do these models? So I did wanna say that for Robbie, and he also was using a hot glue gun, we hadn't done that. He said rarely, so his little, the thing where you hang, I forget what the name of it is, but you hang dried fish or animals to dry, the meat to dry, is on this thing that he hot glue gunned together. So everybody had a chance to do something with a tool or with something that wasn't in their ordinary day, what they do for schoolwork.
Tell him you did a great job. the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
After this, what do you say, you know? I think these kids will also be ambassadors for the next students to come. So when the next group is for your December meeting or the next meeting, it'll be fun for me to say to them, oh, go ask Wyatt, go ask Izzy, go ask Jacob. How did that feel? How did they do? So I think there's an internal thing that can happen with kids networking together too, to be, what was it like to go speak for the school board? Thank you.
Do we have a camera in the school?
We have a few.
You have a few, huh?
You mean monitors? Like what do you
No, I
mean?
mean a camera that takes a still picture.
Yeah, yeah, we
Like an
do.
old Kodak picture?
Yes, we do.
Okay, because it would be very nice, I think, if somebody took a picture, as we have our presentation, if somebody took a picture of the kids and the teacher together, you know, and maybe put it in a frame, put it on a wall someplace, and
Oh, document the year and the student perform and the student.
absolute- and what's
That's
gonna-
easy.
And they will come back 10 years from now and say, look, that was me right there.
We can do that.
Yeah?
Especially with the areas above some of the tile all cleaned out down the 5th grade wing and some of the things that we've done to kind of to add a 22nd century feeling to the building.
And for the yearbook, too.
Happy to do that. The yearbook is covered. You
Okay.
have a yearbook team and a half. And I should also tell you that the Geskus photo company that we use donated to us a phenomenal camera with video capabilities.
Terrific.
Yep.
Anyways.
No, I'll take that on. It's a very serious thing.
Thank you.
That's really fun to do.
Okay, we're moving right along with our agenda, because we even have some work to do today. We're doing policies. And I need somebody to,
I'll do that.
thank you.
I move that we approve, or for discussion, Section E, support services, and EFE vending machines, which is a new policy.
Mhm.
B, Section B, Section J, students, and JLCB, immunizations of students, new policy.
Mhm.
And C, Section K, school, community, and home relations. KBA, public's right to know. KCD, computers, guidance for donated computers and hardware. These are all first reading.
Is there a second?
Policies.
I'll second.
Okay, all those, discussion. I have some discussions here. EFE vending machines. I would personally like to see a clause saying that there will be no student access to soda vending machines.
Is that
And
presently?
make it a policy that there's no sodas in the school.
No sodas in the school or no
No,
student
no,
access to the
No,
stuff?
what I'm saying is adults, you know, can make their own decisions in
Mhm.
the teacher's lounge,
Mm-hmm.
but I just say there'll be no student access to soda vending machines.
I think right now we have a wellness policy that
Yes,
includes that.
That
doesn't
covers it, yeah.
It is in the wellness policy. Also, I think you'd be happy if you saw in the cafeteria what is available. It's flavored waters and Dasani only.
All right.
Sam switched that machine, I want to say a bit before I even got here.
Yes.
So
Yep.
that's been firmly in
Yep.
place. And we've also rejected other offers from some soda people for other things that they could do if we had more vending machines.
Okay.
You are spot on.
Next, I'd like to go to KBA, Public Right to Know. And I'm just curious on number 4, and this is what was discussed previously. How did you come up with the charges? Were they based on actual costs, or what were they based on?
Deb and I took a look at some of the past and the amounts of pages that were
Mhm.
asked for, and felt that the 25 cents is going to cover just about the majority of anyone who
Okay.
has asked.
Mhm.
And then after that, it would be a more manageable cost for people to bear.
Okay. Let me see, next, I have, where I have, KCD/R, public donations to schools.
So you're going on to the second reading?
Oh, I'm sorry, let me stop right there.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll stop right there. Does anybody have any other questions about the first reading?
No.
Okay, and this is just a question. Can we pass a first reading and a second reading as long as nothing has been amended?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, then I make a motion that for the first readings under section E, J, and K, that we treat them also as a second reading because we don't have any additions or addendums to add to it.
I think that would be an amendment
To the
first
motion, right.
Yes?
Yep.
And I'll second it.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so now do we vote for the first reading, or we already did?
No, you just approved them.
Okay.
So they're all approved.
Okay, second reading, Terry, please.
Second reading, section E, support services. EEAA, video and audio surveillance on school property, which is a new policy. Section J, students, JFA residency, JJF-R, administering student activity funds. Section K, school, community, and home relations. KB, KCD-R, KDA, KDC, KDCA, KE, KEB, KEC, KECR, KF, KFA, KFAA, KFD, KHB, KI, KIA, KJ, KJR, KKB, KKBR,
KI.
K,
Do you have KI?
KIA.
No, just KI.
KI and then KIA.
Oh,
She's reading from
KI, sorry.
the top sheet.
Okay.
As I am too.
Got
I'm
it.
sorry.
Okay.
KJ, KJR, KKB, KKB-R, KLG, and section L, Education Agency Relations, LDA.
This is just for the record. Most of these changes are recommended by the New Hampshire School Board Association due to changes in RSAs, changes in the law, changes in court cases,
Oh.
and also the need to update to speak about what is critical on today's policies. Can we look at KCDR, please, which is public donations to school? On the second paragraph, to be accepted, a gift must meet the following criteria. I'm looking at number 4. Will not employ regular, full, or part-time personnel. What if it is part of the grant, you get to hire a person part-time or full-time as part of a grant donation? Or even if a company says we will also pay for, the personnel needed for 1 year, as an example. This would essentially prohibit that. So I would, quite frankly, just like to see it omitted.
Okay, I think this is talking more about an object rather than personnel, but I understand where that could come from.
Will not
I would
employ
agree that-
full or part-time
yeah.
personnel.
Yeah.
And I think that needs to be omitted because we can get a donation of personnel resources. Also, if you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, number 7. Will not imply endorsement of any business product, and I would like to add religious affiliation.
It's a small point. You might make that say belief system rather than religious affiliation.
I'm happy with that.
Well, I can just think of a couple of things that I
Atheist,
think we would have
agnostic,
called
I understand.
religious, but would be a belief system.
Yep,
Yeah, so that will cover.
Hate to interrupt, but
yeah. Okay.
More inclusive. Yeah.
Okay. Also, it's not on here, but to be accepted, a gift must meet the following criteria. What do you think about saying it may not be gender specific or exclusionary? Somebody might, somebody will say, I only want to give this science equipment for the boys to use, as an example.
Mhm.
So I would add, it may not, the gift may not be gender specific or exclusionary,
Or the gift must fit all Title IX considerations.
and that's fine too. There's also one other caveat I'd like to put in there, that gifts valued over at $25 or over to staff or employees must be okayed by the principal. I don't want to see somebody cut a check to have somebody included in a gifted program or something like that. I mean, that's the logical crazy conclusion, but there could be other things, other things involved.
Whether there's a policy or not, that would be an unethical behavior.
Right, but anything that's worth $25 or over would just have to be okayed by the principal. And all the teacher would say, let's say the teacher's getting an expensive figurine, okay? Would you mind running this by the principal? It's obviously worth, $25.
I'm actually thinking in my head of an example that I did have, not here, but it was a person had made a trip abroad, and this thing was very specific to a class that the child of the family had with a certain teacher. And that's exactly what we did, was say, hey, just please declare it, let's talk about it, let's acknowledge it, and it lives on a bookshelf in your room, and that's great, but it wasn't something that then went home to that teacher's own den or family room.
Hey, it
So-
could be a 4K TV. I mean,
Right.
We don't know.
Right, that's right.
Right?
No, I appreciate that very much.
Do you want to put those,
Put it into words.
put it and bring it back on the next,
Yes.
and bring it next time, because you may want to run
Yes.
it by an attorney or something?
Yep.
Okay. That's all, that's what I have for that one. Next. KDCA. Use of students in public information program. What I didn't read in here that I think is important is that the information must be approved in advance for distribution by the principal or his or her designate. I don't, but if the policy doesn't state it, somebody could say, oh, I didn't know I had to run it by the principal. I just ran it by the teacher, or I just ran it by the custodian,
Yeah, especially because in item 3, paragraph 4, item 3, it says the school board or superintendent can refuse the request, but it should be before it gets to that
Yes.
point that it's approved as a request.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so,
So this is boilerplate?
It is.
anyways, is this something you think we can vote on?
Yes, because what we can do is take your language of the information must be approved in advance. We're going to make that number 3, and then number 4. Once it's approved, then we reserve the right to refuse the information. So that absolutely, we can do that.
Yeah.
Aren't you,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
number 4 says distribution of such subject to prior approval by the super or his or her designee.
Yep.
So is that
Principal.
not the same language?
Well,
If
Should be the principal.
it should be I think it should be the building manager. It should be the principal, because, or her designate.
Yeah.
So that or the assistant principal.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So scratch superintendent and put principal there.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
And it does say prior, so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I move we make the change from superintendent to principal.
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next. I noticed that all the changes in community use for school facilities are exactly what we requested. Thank you. Okay, and on KFA, adding the word sexual harassment. Let me see, I think there was one more I had. Yeah. This is KJ. Now, here's an issue I have with registered sexual offenders and offenders against children. It doesn't prohibit the parent or guardian of a child who is a sexual offender or predator. It doesn't prohibit that person from coming in. Okay, I'm not saying that they shouldn't, but there's nothing that will stop a person if he or she has a kid in the school. So my suggestion is that we put in a sentence that the individual must at all times be accompanied by a member of the staff or administration. I do not want a sexual offender who is a guardian walking around in this school, because he has a relationship with his own kid. That doesn't mean that he cannot hurt somebody else's kid. So, and I feel strongly about that. I think they, at all times, and I understand there's going to be an issue. I want to watch my kid play basketball, okay? But I don't want, hypothetically, that guy sitting next to an 11-year-old girl. I don't want it.
We have in the past had a sexual offender that went on a field trip. But I'm not sure what the outcome was, but I know there was an outcry by the parents.
And I know that it's going to be up to the principal to work it out. But as long as that person is accompanied by a staff member or from the administration, I don't have a problem.
Well, I think the wording is probably never left alone.
Must be accompanied at all times,
Just,
by a member of the staff or administration.
Yeah, because in the body of paragraph 2, it does discuss checking in with the prior notice, the date, the time, and the reason, and then check in and out on the date of the visit, and it closes with may not have contact with students during school activities. But it's not as explicit as your sentence saying the accompanied piece.
Mm-hmm.
is there a level of sexual offenders?
Well, I don't want to get into that because some of the reasons you could be a sexual offender, you might say like, that's nothing. And you might, somebody else on your same board.
No, I mean legally.
No,
Okay, legally, you can be a sexual offender if you're 3 years older or more than someone you had a relationship with. And then what happens when 5 years go by and these two people are married? That guy or that gal is a sexual offender. They're legally married. They have a family of their own. It was a statutory issue, okay?
Right.
But we can't play judge on every statutory issue.
You don't want to because I was going to say public urination is a sexual offender offense. So you could have to register as a sexual offender if you urinated in public. Now, you're there. I might find out, or a policeman can say, Chris, it was the middle of the night, the guy had flu, it was in back of a dumpster at the mall, and the mall was closed. But nevertheless, somebody drove by and repeated it. We're bound to, by law, to say that is public indecency. Somebody else has public indecency. It's a lot different when you're imagining the what is it called,
Okay.
flasher. But as far as it goes, a registered offender's a registered offender.
Yeah, that was my question, period.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would like to add, okay, the offender must be at all times accompanied by a member of Alton Central School staff or administration. That's my motion.
So right now, I'll second it
Mhm.
for discussion.
For discussion, okay.
Right now, if an offender comes in, they just have to check in and they can go see their child at the basketball game or whatever.
That would be a factual statement, yes.
Okay. So this would change it.
Yes.
This
Yes.
would make it, the things that we have in place for that eventuality would now become official rather than what we consider best practice in the building.
Okay. I'd like to call a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Pass unanimous. Let me just see, I think that's all I got. Okay, does anybody else have anything on policies? Did we have to vote on now the second
They
reading?
didn't do L's,
Right.
did they?
Okay, I need a motion to,
Oh, he did all that.
I already
We
moved
read
them.
all that.
you already moved
Oh,
them?
they did L's, okay.
Terry moved them, but I didn't have a second for the moving of them all.
I'll second,
Okay.
is
Yep.
the second as amended, or?
No, just to
Would-
move them, just to begin with. Terry
Yes.
read
Oh,
them out
second and-
loud.
Is there any further discussion on the second reading policies?
Did you want to hold out KCD-R? You said you
Yes.
wanted to bring that
Thank
one
you.
back,
Thank
so
you.
I'll accept that one.
I'll accept KD-R. Is that all right with you, Terry? You
Yep.
amend your motion?
Yeah,
You amend your second?
yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next, I believe it's the minutes, is it?
Mhm.
Housekeeping. The next meeting is December 12th, something like that?
Just double check. Yes, it is, December 12th.
12th, and
Yes.
7 days is the 19th. Would there, if we made an exception to the 19th, you know, I've just got some personal surgery. I was wondering if that would be all right?
19th is good? Is that-
What
Is
did
the
you- What did you
19th?
say?
I'm asking if it'd be all right to move the next meeting from the 12th to the 19th.
Is that during vacation?
Is that vacation?
No, that's before vacation.
Are you celebrating the Virgin of Guadalupe?
No, I'm celebrating getting out of the hospital.
I'm just kidding. That's fine with me.
Mike, all right? Okay. Okay, so for the record now, okay, I move we change the next school board meeting from the 12th to the 19th.
Okay, 5:30?
5:30. Is there a second?
That second.
Okay, discussion, all those in favor? Aye, thank you very much, everybody.
Are we gonna start meeting in the library here?
Yes.
Mhm. Okay, let me see, let's look at the minutes of October 20th. Okay. Does anybody have any issues with,
I move that we approve the meeting minutes of October 20th.
Second?
nothing? Discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Next, please look at October 24th minutes.
I don't have the 24th.
They
Yeah.
were on the table at your
Here you
seat,
go.
I believe.
That's the 20th,
That's the 20th?
unless the 24th or MS.
Here's the
24th?
Okay, here's the 24th.
Oh, that's, okay, I wasn't sure which meeting that
Mhm.
was.
We okay with the minutes of the 24th?
Well, I'm just getting these, so.
Okay.
I don't know if you wanna put them off till the next meeting.
I'm happy to do it if that's what you'd want. Okay? Motion to move the October 24th minutes for approval to the next meeting.
So moved?
Okay, they're available anyway.
Yes.
Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, I believe is public input. Is there any public input, agenda items only? Seeing none? Enrollment for Alton Central School is down 2 from the beginning of the year to 477, and Prospect Mountain High School is down 1 at 262 for a total of 739 students. And what's amazing is, at one time, there was 806 students in this building. In this building.
I remember it well.
Mhm. And there were kids in the science labs who were 18 years old. Okay, let me just go to the next one. Okay, that was enrollments. Next, you have the financials. Does anybody have any questions on the financials? Okay, seeing none. We have, you have in your packet correspondence. And do you want to just, for the record, bring us up to date on the bus situation, please?
Absolutely. Got word from Dave Fairweather, who is the regional manager for First Student this afternoon, that the international Teamsters down in Washington have been monitoring what's going on in this region, and they are trying to pull the two parties together so to avert a strike. And so the two parties have agreed that tomorrow and Wednesday they're going to discuss, and they're going to put off their vote that was supposed to take place tonight. So we know that there will be no bus interruption tomorrow or Wednesday, and then we'll keep people posted from there. But I do want to say that working with the team at the school, coming up with a plan that I think is going to work for at least the majority of our parents, given a very difficult situation. I also want to commend the staff within a very short amount of time of an email being put out saying we're looking at extending hours so that parents who are going to work early can drop their children, and when they get out of work, they can pick them up. We had close to 40 staff members say, I can help out, just tell me where you need me and when. So just all around, I think sometimes in our most challenging circumstances, the best comes out, and that certainly was true here. So we're still on hold. We have no definitive, but we know that tomorrow and Wednesday our buses will be rolling.
My only suggestion is on any staff, if the illogical end result is that they end up picking up children, you have to make sure that they are insured.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
The individuals have, you know, and you have to decide on what level of insurance, you know, that they have to have.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just, because in this state, you can choose not to be insured.
Yeah.
I know a Prospect, their coaches and staff are not allowed, period, to transport kids.
I think you have a policy up there.
So it's different than, it's not like a Primex rule?
I've never been asked. It hasn't been in a very long time that any of our staff members have transported students. I do know that maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, we had their copy of their license and their insurance binder or, you know, certificate
Right.
on hand. But there was only 2 or 3 employees that actually needed to do that. But other than that, we have not had that need
You
or.
don't have any staff taking kids to Gunstock?
No, buses do that.
Hmm?
Buses do that. We
No, I
have
understand,
buses.
but do
I
staff
can't
do
answer that.
To the best of my knowledge, it would be a surprise, and you could knock me over with a feather, to have had a student transported by any staff member.
Not a coach.
No field trips, no nothing.
No. And I think the common thing that happens here is somebody sends in a note and says, Teresa is riding home with Jason McGillicuddy, and that's good enough for us. If that
Right.
guardian or parent said this
It was
kid
a
is getting in
parent
that
setting it up,
car,
right.
that's what we do.
Not the staff of the district, yeah.
Because, you know, it's different with staff, they're an agent of the school.
They certainly
Absolutely.
are.
Okay, I'm sure you got that.
Thanks for thinking ahead about like that, though.
Let's see, before I get to the superintendent principal's report, I'm just gonna give you a highlight of the October maintenance report. The scoreboards were installed and wired. I gotta take a look on the way out. Let me see here. Porta johns were collected and removed. And the water department, we passed inspection with the water department. We've put out grade stakes for winter prep, et cetera. The thermostats have been adjusted. And exterior lighting over the kindergarten has been improved, I imagine. Okay, that's the highlights. The rest, not quite as important.
Can I comment on that?
Sure.
Chuck's doing a great job. I know at budget time, I wished I'd thanked him profusely. The building looks, I've never seen the building look so good. But I did have one comment. As I came up the stairs to the meeting, there's an older glass case out there to put
These announcements.
agendas in. Where do those go near the main entrance? Is there any, that should be moved.
You're
to the
right,
main
we need that
entrance.
curio. I'll call it like a curio box. It should be to the main entrance now
Right.
that it's not the main entrance anymore.
Right.
Yep, for agendas.
And there was Prospect Mountain.
How
It's
old?
up to date. No, they're
Oh,
up
it
to
is?
date. Yeah, I
Okay.
guess Sharon keeps coming and just putting them in.
Call on me. I will tell you the number of people that stop. I can't tell you the number. That's a mathematical fact. But I can tell you the number of people that seem thrilled to park right there, get out, read it, and get back in their car and go is really high. I don't mind doing a second, but I can tell you that that is not overlooked. And in fact, Deb Brown puts them there for us, and it's Deb every now and then who says to me, hey, get a hold of Chuck. There's a cobweb developing. A cobweb can develop in 3 days. It's not overlooked, and it is updated. So if the board requests, we can put a second one, but it's really valid to keep that because people pop out and just step up and get back in their car and drive away after looking at it. I'd hate to make somebody come in and look. And we
Right.
still do the post office and.
I'm just thinking mostly parents coming in would come in.
Even at that, they send their kid on the bus or drop their kid off and they still boogie around and get out and look without having to walk all the way in the building.
Interesting.
Yeah. And these would be people who wouldn't even have known it as K-12 or that was an entrance or that's where
Right.
Yeah.
Lynn Whitehouse sat or whatever. That's just a tool that people fly in and look at.
Yeah.
Okay, superintendent's report. Is this it here?
That's it. That is it.
Okay. Oh, one for me.
During the last few weeks, I've had an opportunity to get into some of the classrooms and see students taking part in some STEM activities with building kites and digging up fossils, really good hands-on activities. And our 8th graders went to Knights Pond. In sitting in a workshop with Laurie Griggs, I was struck by some of the writing samples that she shared with us on what the students did as a result of the environment that they were in to do their writing. And I included it there for you in number 1, just on the language that was used, the vocabulary was quite striking and a real reason why we should have these kinds of activities for students to experience learning. It really brings out the best in them. After attending a Smarter Balance training, Denise Perry and I talked about some of the approaches for sharing data with teachers and preparing for spring testing. On November 7th, Principal Blackstone dedicated some time for staff to really review the data and to talk about instructional changes. And I've included in here for you some of the results of those conversations about teachers identifying the need to work with small groups, that students are using IXL and Khan Academy, that we're taking a look at study skills and analyzing problems of the day, Geometry Fridays, focusing in on those areas that were patterns of need within the different grade levels, and teachers coming together to really talk about those. So it was time very well spent, and Denise is continuing that dialogue with teams of teachers as we prepare for spring testing with Smarter Balanced. Number 3 talks about the budget, the bus, and so I won't go into that again, but we're hopeful that there will be a good resolution to that. 16 teachers and staff responded to an invitation to take part in a book reading group. We had some great discussion about providing feedback to students, building relationships, setting a purpose for a lesson, excellent discussions, and a real show of interest and dedication to our pedagogy in the school. And then just finally want to thank Sue Quinn for orchestrating the Veterans Day Assembly.
Bailey?
Bailey, I'm so sorry. It was respectful. It was truly honoring the veterans, and the kids were wonderful, and what a great show of veterans.
How many
They were
veterans
there.
do we have?
Oh, my goodness, I'm going to
64.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
that's
It was a
wonderful.
real good turnout.
Thank you. And among them was your colleague on your board.
Thank you.
Okay, Principal Blackstone.
Thank you. So first I have genuine breaking news that I'm excited about is I just got invited to join the board of the New Hampshire Middle Level Educators Association, which is our state division of NELMS. And that's thrilling to me because, as you know, something I set out to do last year was to do what I could to help middle level here have a stronger identity and have more PD and more sense of that we have a middle school, that we're a pre-K to 8 school, but what are things that we can identify about the grades 5 through 8 people. So this is going to give some more exposure and get us some more ideas, I think, on how to network that in. Second item, I think the Baysider articles pretty much sum up something that I interpreted from you folks at the workshop session, the goal-setting workshop, that you wanted more publicity about STEM and about excitement in math. So I don't know if it's obvious. It feels obvious to me. I've been trying to do every other week is something about STEM or math or hands-on, and then the other weeks are things like social emotional or student groups or things that I've seen in classrooms. But it should be something that I'm stated that I'm addressing what you wanted for more publicity about STEM activities. So now that you know it, you can look and say, hey, this was 2 weeks in a row. Or, you know, how is that looking for me getting equal opportunity or more thrust actually on STEM? Classroom visits are something that I find heartwarming because I'm getting more and more invitations about what to come and see in a classroom. And I can say that grade 5 coming tonight is a product of one of those visits, but I'm also very happy, and I put it in last week's Baysider, about having gone to Derek Papasino's 7th grade science classes. I was toying with who were the students going to be, the student reps for the Health and Wellness and Safety Committee. This kid, that kid, these two, and I thought it has to be 2. There's not a student that really wants to go and sit with 5 or 6 adults, so I wanted it to be a comfort of a pair of kids. And when I was in Derek's NASA and engineering class presenting their projects, that's when the 2 students really jumped out at me that have joined this committee that Kathy is also on for the health and wellness and safety. So that's a side effect, a benefit from being in and out of the classrooms, is I'm trying to wear as many hats as I can when I'm in there seeing who could also be doing what in our school. Our student clubs are up and running. Nicole Boland's Aspire group has started meeting now, and they've got some social activities planned for the younger students here. Last year they did a great night in March, and this year Nicole feels, I think, a little bit more like branching out with the student group that she's got in the Aspire group. So those are really 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders that are just on that cusp. They're too little for the voice, but too big to not have a club. So shout out to Nicole for what she's doing with that. I'm also working with the voice students to address some more smarter balanced issues. We'll have on morning announcements. We'll weave in some vocabulary about smarter balanced in ways that I hope will be somewhat exciting, but make really good use of the time with a loudspeaker and the public service or public announcements that we can make there. I attended the PTSA meeting last week at their regularly scheduled monthly meeting, and they've asked if I can do that on a regular basis. That is really heartwarming to me, not to use heartwarming twice in one principal's report, but it really is. I think it shows a great, the working relationship is strong in the evening as it is in the daytime. I think it was beneficial, too, because a couple of things they were toying with, I was able to say in real time, hang on, there's a conflict of the date, or hang on, let me check and see about the date. So they could get some action faster rather than having to email and wait and get an answer and whatnot. I went to Rochester Coles over the weekend, and I met on purpose with the manager on duty. It wasn't to shop, it was to go on a school mission. I delivered the 5 copies of the Baysider from last Thursday because there was the picture in the back cover of the 5 Coles employees who came to school at Halloween time for the PTSA Fall Harvest Dance, and I wanted the manager to have those hard copies to share with the members and the Coles reps who were there. And we talked for a little while about some more outreach things they have in mind for our school, and it's some new people on board at that Coles, but they're very sympathetic to, we're in a funny catchment area. We don't have one. We don't have major sponsors. We don't have, we have, the people we have, and I could list them, we know who they are. Every business in town does what they can for us, but we also need the next level, and Kohl's is not competing with anybody in town. So I feel good about strengthening up that working relationship.
Did you mention that they gave $1,500?
I did not, because I actually am a bit superstitious, and until the check is truly cashed in our bank account, I just didn't want to say that. But thank you, Mrs. Noyes. In return for the Kohl's outreach that started was a $1,500 donation if we had an event that we invited 5 Kohl's employees to. So 5 Kohl's employees show up, they volunteer, they do something for school, and Kohl's gives us this donation. That was a hefty one. At different times of the year, it might be $500 for a different type of event. So different times of the years, it fluctuates. But I picture, it's really wonderful, but I'd rather, again, I'm very old school, and like, you can tell me there's a check all you want. I'm on team Oblinas. Is the check in the mail? Is it endorsed on the back? Do I see it on the statement? Not to say it's not going to happen, but I'd just rather wait for that part. I did want to tag on, I also typed the Sue Bailey and the Veterans Day Assembly was huge with the 64 veterans attending. I also wanted to share Molly Connolly has finished the first semester's worth of the parenting series that she's done here now, I want to say 16 consecutive years at least. And Molly was able to give me, knowing the world of data now, she gave me the parent feedback sheets, and I just barely got to glance at them. So that continues in the spring again, and that's in our budget for next year to keep that rolling. The statements there on the feedback sheets would indicate it's a real service for our town. Marty Cornelison has come and examined the scoreboards. He is interested in one, and one can now go, the old scoreboards that were taken down, and one can now go through the process to have it go to a good home, somehow for love or money. But right now, Marty has dibs on one till we hear otherwise, and one is, I'm sorry, Marty Cornelison is the president of the Alton Historical Society. It was also Marty that gave the photos when you go down the admin hall that are framed on the wall. Those are from Marty's collection about the school and about Alton for us. I'm sorry, I should have said that in the beginning for the benefit of the secretary as well. And my last item is the piano that we've talked about was delivered the other day. It's going to live on the stage, and the piano that's on the stage needs to be able to be liberated now to go to a new home. So we could do that even at the next meeting. I don't know how you want to do that or what the timeline is for that, but the piano on the stage can be liberated and be repurposed somewhere.
Franti and Taicha?
Pardon me?
Two people play dual pianos.
Well, we have 2 lovely pianos, and that piano is a distant third. So, but it was the efforts of Dave Countway and his crew. It was Dave that got the piano here from a client of his. So, and then our crew that did a bit of work with them to put it upstairs. So.
Did you say that you had somebody that wanted the old one? No?
You were making that up.
I understand.
Yeah, that's not a secret I wanted to reveal later. No, I don't have anybody on deck for that. I could, I haven't even asked yet, because again, I wanted to wait till that piano came, was delivered properly, nothing offbeat happened to it during delivery. Now we have it, so, and that was only, what, Thursday? Yeah. So it's really this new that the other one is truly available.
Could we send a thank you note to Mr. Countway for that great, wonderful
Has been done, in fact.
board?
Yep. Oh, from the board, that's something
Yeah.
else.
No, what I would do is just go to a trophy store and get a little plaque to put on the piano, donated by the
Countway family.
the Conway family. Thank you.
I'll first ask the Countway family to be in touch with the family that donated and make sure that's fine.
Yes.
Dave paid for the piano movers to bring it here, which is separate than the people who he networked us into to donate the piano.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a grand piano.
No, it's an upright. It's beautiful wood, though. It looks very like the one we've got upstairs already in Melinda Harrison's room, or in the music suite. So a board thank you is separate.
We'll take care of
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll take care of that.
Okay.
We've done the school side, yep.
Okay, next is, I gave you the building grounds report. Do you have a technology report?
Technology committee met a week and a half ago, and we are working on the new technology plan. We're working on a communication plan to identify what types of communication will be used when. We are looking at an app for parents to use, so it makes communication with the school very easy right on their phone. And we're looking at updating the tech plan and portioning out pieces so that we can get that done this year.
Great. Let's go to action items, please. Baseball backstops. Who's doing that?
We're going to hold off on that one more month where there's some difficulty getting that third quote in.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just so that we can make sure we get the lowest cost,
Sure
he
thing.
needs a little bit more time.
Did you get anything from Mr. Sykes? He's,
No, was it, were we supposed to?
no, I'm just wondering
Okay.
if he did. He lives in Alton. You're looking for
No.
a third quote, correct?
Yeah, Chuck is, yes. So
Sykes
Mr.
is his last name?
Okay.
Is he the same gentleman that works over in Gilmington, or is he?
No, he does fencing. He has a company, but he's done all the fencing at Prospect.
Would it be Superior Fencing?
It could be.
Yes, we have that quote.
It could be.
Okay, we're gonna
I'll
put,
find out that
Okay.
for you.
we'll put backstops on, to the backstop,
Yes,
to the
please.
back burner. And we go to personnel. And, there's somebody, make a motion on the new hire.
I move that we hire Cheryl Wood as a sped para educator. Did she retire from here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
She did.
So she's coming
She's
back.
an Spanish teacher, I think.
Excuse me?
I think she's the old Spanish teacher.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay, in the, thank you for putting the previous salary and the proposed salary.
That was Deb.
Yeah, and,
Can't look at me.
but not knowing how many hours are, you know, that they're working, it's really kind of meaningless. I'd like to see what the annual salary is,
Okay.
okay, as opposed to how much they make an hour.
Oh,
Is it, so,
wasn't the
did we
hour
receive
on
a
the
second
personnel
on
sheet
Cheryl
for
Wood?
Cheryl?
I'll
though?
second it.
Thank you. Discussion?
On one.
All those in
Oh, I knew I
favor?
saw it somewhere, okay.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay. Next,
The athletic department, Connor Clark, for boys B basketball.
Coach.
I'd like to move that to non-public.
Okay. Co-curricular,
Co-curricular activity stipends. I move Brandy Sanger for Junior League, Lego League. Brandy Sanger for Destination Imagination. Patricia Solier for Destination Imagination. Sarah Hall for board games. Natasha Urena for Crafty Creations Club. Pamela Forbes for Chess
That's
Club.
cute.
Carol Foley for Junior Lego League. And Laura Roberts for the Wellness Committee.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, moving on from, we'll go to the collective bargaining agreement. I'd like to propose to the board, as soon as I find my.
Right there.
Yep, I'd like to propose to the board, we reached a 3-year agreement with the union, and the cost to the taxpayers in year 1 will be $134,114.59.
I'm sorry, Steve, I have a different number than that.
Oh,
What row?
Do you have the warrant article verbiage in front of you, the white paper that was laying?
Yep. Is that the correct number?
Yes, that is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. It's a better number?
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I still would have corrected you.
I know. Okay, for the first year, 2017-18, the estimated increase is $130,008. For the second year, $105,924. And for the third year, which is conspicuous.
Right at the top.
$71,938. We'll be happy to, at our next meeting, go into great detail on this, but at this time, the union has not ratified the contract as yet, so this is for informational purposes only. But, well, actually, what I am asking the board to do, it's information for the public, okay? But what I'm asking the board to do is to approve that's the collective bargaining agreement that has been agreed in principle with the Alton Teachers Union, and to also support these estimated increases for years 1, 2, and 3 that we hope to put before the voters.
Is that a motion?
It's a motion.
Okay, and I will second it.
Mhm.
But I would like to discuss a couple things. When this goes to the voters, there will be, how many people voted on it for the board? I would just like to see a 5-0, 5-0. I don't know how Mr. Levitt or Sandy would vote on it. How can we vote on this and then have it come back, or can we?
Well, first, we could do one or two things. First of all, we can take a vote. Number two, we could take a straw vote, and, essentially to show the union, that they effectively have the board's
The
support.
majority,
The
right.
majority of the board's support. Okay, if you'd like to bring it back, I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah.
For the next meeting.
We'll have
and-
more warrant articles and after discussion here, so with the full board here in December, we'll be able to go through the warrant articles and take a full vote
Again.
with the tallies, yes.
Yeah, I just
Yep.
want,
That's part of it.
Yep.
I'm just
Yeah.
worried about that tally,
Mhm.
rather than
Mhm.
being a 3 to.
But we can
Yep.
ratify tonight and then put it back.
Right,
Yep.
I don't have
Yes.
a problem with
Okay.
that.
So what I'd like to do is, I'd like to amend my motion to say it's for information purposes to the town, and that is, it's not an official vote of the board, but it is a straw poll of how the board
A
feels.
majority.
Of how the board feels going forward by the 4 people out of 5 who are, I'm sorry, the 3 out of 5 that are currently seated here. Sandy Wyatt, Peter Levitt is working, and Sandy Levitt is in Florida.
Wyatt.
Sandy Wyatt's
Wyatt.
out of town.
Sandy Levitt, okay. You don't have to be
We
that
get the
smart to do
drift.
this job, you know that? Anyway, is there a second to that?
Second to that, yep.
Okay, straw poll, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay.
I have to thank Steve, he did a great job on this contract.
Thank you. And-
I think this is gonna be really good for morale,
Mhm.
in the building. A 3-year contract, we haven't had one of those in a very long time.
Yes.
Yep, that means for 3 years, maybe we can just take a vacation instead,
Yeah.
go to collective bargaining. Okay, that's, pardon me, action items, public input. Is there any public input?
Come on, Jen.
Hearing
Uh,
none.
All right, seeing none. Other business, I'd like to take a look at the 2017-18 warrant articles. Okay, and, essentially, what I'm looking at for warrant articles is, the ones that are in fact economic, is that the school board, one second. There'll be the operating budget, and what's the operating budget number as of? We don't know because Prospect Mountain isn't finalized and won't be until the JMA meets.
And actually, I have an update for you for insurance rates.
Yep.
School Care published the insurance rates for the school district.
Mhm.
And I had estimated in the budget for next year a 5.0% increase.
Mhm.
Our rates came in at 6.6%, but I don't think there's going to be a full 1.6% increase to those numbers, literally compared to this current year, because we've got some changing over a lot of staff, and the costs of the plans that our whole census our population here is a little bit lower, so I don't think it's gonna be a major increase
You're
whatsoever.
confident with a 5%
Yeah,
increase in
yeah.
the budget.
But, yep,
Mhm.
it'll just be a little bit. of an
Okay.
increase, not much. So
Okay.
with that being said, I will firm up the actual rates in the 17-18 budget with now an even improved number from Prospect Mountain, but I'll contact their SAU office to get that number
Okay.
as well.
Um,
The number keeps going down.
The school district will propose a special warrant article for $65,000 to be added to the existing security and safety expendable trust fund, and that would be for asbestos removal.
That's correct.
That's correct.
And
Phase one.
which wing is that?
1956.
1956, and quite frankly, I want to meet the person who votes against getting rid of asbestos in a school. Next is, we're proposing another special warrant article. It's to see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $20,000 to be added to the non-capital, non-lasting reserve fund known as the Alton Professional Development Fund. And this money will be used wholly to improve our math instruction and professional development of all the actors.
Correct.
Of all the actors, and so that we can try to do something special in bringing up our mathematics scores.
Correct.
Okay? And that's all I have in front, the two that I have in front of me.
I have a question about Article 3, which is the sweep of the
Yep.
budget.
Yes.
This is obviously written different than it has been in years past.
Yes. This is DRA wording, exactly.
Okay.
Yep. This is what DRA gave us.
Oh,
And the reason they did that was what?
Because they approved us net appropriating for Prospect Mountain High School operating budget were
Versus gross.
versus gross.
Right,
Yes.
okay.
My only concern, this has never been pulled out and identified.
In the warrant article, that's correct. It's always been
So I
pulled
get up
out.
at a district meeting and I say, I want to cut out the net appropriation for Prospect Mountain.
Well, you first of all.
Can that happen?
No, because 5% rule is in fact, you can only take on an $8 million budget, $400,000 out.
Okay, so if they get up and cut $400,000.
Well, first of all, that's, they can cut out the $400,000, then it goes to the voters, and hopefully it won't be recommended by the school board and won't be recommended by the budget committee. But, you know, in the state of New Hampshire, that is your risk. Somebody can cut 5% out of your budget for no
Well, they
reason
can do that
whatsoever.
at any time.
Yep.
I'm just looking where it says
Yep.
Prospect Mountain. That's the part that scares me.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying it should be buried,
No.
you know, but by bringing it out, can something happen?
It's a bottom line. And I think if the board still continues to remain steadfast, the way I have always remained is it's a contractual agreement, 100% in the operating budget, 100% in the default budget. You can't touch it. If you're gonna try and touch it, it's coming from the elementary school.
It's no
It's a
different
bottom
than a
line.
snowplow contract.
Right. It's bottom line.
You signed a contract to pay for snow plowing, right? They
You're
can't-
obligated.
You can't take that out.
Mm-hmm.
We signed a contract to pay for our share of Prospect Mountain. You
Mhm.
can't take that out.
Yep.
All right, my
Mhm.
concern is the
Mhm.
way it could be attacked by the community. I don't know.
We're probably in a rock and a hard place because the DRA says this is the wording they want, and we come in with different wording.
And this matches what Barnstead uses for wording in their sweep
Yeah.
article.
Well, we never used to tell them it was gross.
Any chance I could, I did, yes.
I know, but
But
it wasn't like
At budget committee or
glassing
with
red
you all.
light.
I remember telling the deliberative session, standing up and explaining
Mhm.
gross and net,
Mhm.
and I've done that at least in 2
Yep.
different years.
And DRA's letter will follow me wherever I go.
That's right. Okay. Do you need a vote on the warrant articles?
we do.
Okay, I need a motion, please.
So we're not gonna vote on them again?
We will. I'm sure we'll bring them
Yeah.
back.
You know, part of the job of a school board member is showing up, period. You know, and.
I understand
I
that,
don't,
Mike.
I don't wanna put off a vote because people aren't showing up.
My concern is when this goes to the ballot box, they
Mhm.
don't understand. People don't necessarily understand that that the people aren't here. It's that 3 of them voted yes and the other ones may have voted no or whatever.
No, it
Or
will
didn't
say no,
vote.
then it says no or it
Right,
says abstention.
Right. It's
It
a
will
complete
have-
tally.
It will have 0, no
I
votes,
understand
0
that,
abstention.
it looks better if the entire board votes.
I wouldn't say that we're done tonight. This is just, these are the ones that we have. We want to move them forward. And if there's more to come per the board's request, then we
Mhm.
would, but we'll
I
also.
mean, we really can't vote on something that doesn't have numbers on it.
Right, exactly,
The only-
exactly,
I mean, the
The only
bottom
one you
line
can't
ones
do
we
is
can't
three.
vote on.
exactly. So it all comes
The only
back.
one,
Everything.
you're right, the only one we can't is number 3, the rest of them have numbers on them.
Mhm.
So,
All but the bottom line.
yep. And we said we weren't gonna vote on, Article 4. So if
The
there
3
hasn't
and 3
been a
and 4.
motion made, I'll make a motion, that we move Article 6, $65,000 to remove asbestos, and Article 7, $20,000 for professional development to be used for mathematics improvement,
Okay.
okay, at ACS.
Can I amend that? Can we go like Article 2? Just let's get all of the ones we don't need.
Okay, go right ahead, Article 2,
Article 2,
okay?
Article 5. That calls for a second meeting if it fails.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Article 6 and Article 7. Those are all fine, correct?
Mhm.
Mhm.
They are.
And that would only leave Article 3, the
3.
sweep, and
4, the
Article
collective
4 for the
Yep.
contract.
Yep.
And I'll second that,
Okay.
or whatever.
Was there a second?
I'll second it,
Okay. Okay, as amended?
as amended, whatever.
I accept your amendment.
Yep,
That
Okay.
includes 1.
what's that?
That includes 1.
Oh, yes.
Article
One
1,
is fine
yeah,
to
we don't
go.
really have to vote on that, because that's voting at the
Okay.
on that.
Yeah.
Steve, would you like to read out loud Article 1?
Election warrant, school board member, 1 for 3 years, school board district moderator, 1 for 1 year, school district clerk, 1 for 1 year, and school district treasurer, 1 for 3 years. Okay?
Thank you. That's
You're
what it
welcome.
is.
Do you want us to include Article 1?
No, I just wanted him to read it. We'd gone through and we were reading a
that's
lot of
fine.
them for.
That's appropriate. Okay,
No.
discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay. Next. Future agenda items. What we have so far is ongoing policies, facility needs, and building project punch list. That is going?
No, bunch list needs to come off, sorry.
Thank you.
Yep.
Uh,
I heard
strategic-
that out of the corner of my ear.
Strategic planning, you're putting together
I am,
a
and if,
community for this?
yes, and if you have any names that you'd like to send to me that I can reach out to personally, please
Mhm.
send those to
Okay.
me as soon as you can.
And we can strike
Take
negotiations,
negotiations now
and that's no longer ongoing, okay?
And student presentations will be ongoing.
Yes,
Oh,
thank you.
Mhm.
Did you, the strategic plan, what was the date on that?
We're gonna be meeting in January. It'll
you
be a
have a date?
January date, yes. That's the 5th.
The
January 5th is the
Okay.
first date, yes,
Thank you.
yes.
What time?
6 to 8 p.m.
Now I need a motion now to go into non-public session.
So moved, what's the number?
You're the one who wants to speak on it.
Oh, just that, that's the only reason we're going,
Mhm.
okay, it'll only take a second.
I know, but we still need a number to go in
Yep.
on.
The hiring,
Yeah, let me look it up.
Okay.
91A,
So it'll be 91A3
Yeah,
2B,
Full promotion or compensation?
yep,
hiring of
91A 32.
Oh, the hiring of
B.
any? A3 to B?
B.
B?
91A 3-2B.
To be.
The
Terry-
hiring of
Terry
any
mo-
person as a public employee.
So Terry motioned, and who second?
Yeah.
I'll second.
Okay.
Okay, Michael, vote please.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, we're now in non-public.